Before, people believed that we were created by a supernatural God or the fruit of evolution through Darwin, etc.
And what was their version?
And this explanation, which is the good one, is that we were created by an advanced civilization coming from another planet using DNA and genetic engineering. And that the Bible is a godless, atheist book explaining the creation and life of life on earth by these very advanced people named in the Bible the Elohim.
Okay. They told you that you were related to Jesus, didn't they?
Yes, they had 40 messengers throughout the history of humanity, and these messengers, like Jesus, like Moses, were partly half human, half Elohim.
Okay, and you are therefore Jesus'
brother.
Half-brother,
yes, yes.
I don't know whether your mother and father are alive, but what did they think of this when you broke the news to them that they hadn't conceived you in a normal way?
My mother was not surprised at all.
Your father was what I was more interested in, to be quite honest.
I had no father. I was raised only by my mother.
It's kind of a good explanation. Yes, yes. Your father was an alien. Thank you very much.
An extraterrestrial.
An extraterrestrial.
One of the Elohim. And thousands of people throughout the history of humanity went through the same thing.
Okay. You were in one of their spacecraft?
Yes.
And you've actually built a model of this?
Yes.
In
the UFO land, the world's largest museum about UFOs. And it's in Canada, close to Valcourt.
Okay, and we have a picture of people posing at...
Yes, in front of the big UFO, the biggest UFO of the world. The UFO is 7 meters diameter, and it's a precise replica of the UFO.
Who are the rather comely maidens that I see beside you there?
They are members of our organization. We have 55,000 members in 84 countries.
Okay. What is the message from the extraterrestrials? I mean... Do they tell us how to behave or how to live?
Yes, but mainly they explain that there is no God, no soul.
Yeah.
And that we are the fruit of a scientific creation. Yeah. And our religion is science. And that everything in the world can be explained through science. So they give us a new philosophy, if you like, which is very peaceful, against any kind of violence, and which help us to be in harmony with new technology.
Okay. But in terms of the way you behave, I mean, you have these nude gatherings, is that right?
No.
There's a picture which seems to suggest that.
We have camping where people are free to be nude or to have clothes. It's not an obligation.
Okay. Now, the embassy that you propose to build...
But nudity is bad for Catholic people.
Well, some, yes. Perhaps some have reservations.
But we are born nude. Nobody's born with clothes, you know?
Yeah. Okay, now the embassy that you propose to build in Jerusalem.
Yes.
Why Jerusalem?
Because at first the creation of life in the laboratories was created close to Jerusalem, the Garden of Eden, it's called in the Bible. That's where the scientists worked and created life on Earth.
Okay, and you want to build your embassy there. It's going to cost $30 million, is that right?
It can cost around $30 million.
And how much have you got so far?
We have a third of it. We have $10 million.
$10 million.
Yes.
And you want sort of free airspace over...
the embassy has to be a real embassy with a demilitarized airspace, yes, of 1 kilometer of diameter.
But why would they need demilitarization if they're so advanced? I mean, any missiles used by the Israelis or the Palestinians would be as nothing to...
They love us and they don't want to hurt us. Okay. They can, like that, destroy all the earth, but they love us.
Yeah. How many members do you have
in
Ireland?
55,000 members in the world,
in Ireland.
And around 500 members in Ireland.
Okay. How are you financed?
By the membership fees of the members.
What do they pay?
They pay what they want. Everybody is free to pay whatever they want.
There's no tithe of everything they earn or anything like that?
They vote at the beginning and they decided 3% of their income for the national movement, yes.
Okay. Now, all of this might just denote you as some kind of fruitcake. And I don't mean to be offensive, but listening to the titters of the audience, I suspect they're writing you off, say, this guy's crackers. Rael is not really with it. He's... that's what they're thinking, right? And that's all very well. You can go about recruiting your members and so on. But now you're talking about cloning human life.
Yes.
Now, that's a much more serious thing, because governments are opposed to you.
Not all.
Who's in favor of you doing this?
You have only 28 countries in the world with law against cloning, and you have 280 countries in the world.
But Ireland hasn't got a law against it yet.
No.
But there's no doubt that they want to have a law against it. They just haven't got round to it yet. And
yes.
I suspect the other...
That's why we have to go fast.
So you're going to race against the legal authorities.
Yes.
To try. You have someone who's a real expert in this field. I mean, we're not talking about gifted amateurs having a go at this. You have someone who's a respected scientist to do
yes,
this.
Yes, many, not only one. But before all, you saying fruit cake,
yeah,
which is not very respectful. If you invite here a bishop,
yeah,
or the Dalai Lama, you will not say that.
No, but based on what you were saying there, the audience were tittering, and I could tell they were making that
people
decision
can be polite and well-educated or not. And you can be respectful of different idea and philosophy or not. If you listen carefully to what is saying a Catholic priest, he says that every Sunday he changes a little piece of bread in the body of Jesus. People can laugh at that also. And you can also have the Dalai Lama saying that he is a reincarnation of 21 Buddha. People can laugh at that. Or they can be respectful and listen and say, different philosophy deserve respect.
I mean, you're making the point
yes.
that the theories of some religions are as outlandish as...
More.
That's what you're saying. Well,
more.
there or thereabouts.
More.
So
we say that only life was created scientifically. And we only believe in science. And nothing irrational, nothing supernatural. Okay. These people believe in supernatural things.
Okay. Why do you want to clone people when the standard way of manufacturing people seems to be quite satisfactory as it is?
Well, first of all, because some people cannot have children by what you call the normal way.
Yeah.
And these people want to have a child. They went through IVF, and it didn't work. And we have a waiting list of 3,000 customers hoping to have a child through cloning.
Wasn't there one particular couple who lost a child?
Yes.
And they paid you, what, $500,000, was it?
Yes.
Did that cloning go ahead, that experiment? Because that's all it is at the moment, it's at a very experimental stage.
Yes, the first experiment we had the laboratory in the United States.
Yeah.
It was closed by the very strong pressure of the Food and Drug Administration, which illegally taped the telephone of the leader, the scientist which leads the program.
Yeah.
And we are suing the Food and Drug Administration because they did not have the right to tap the telephone.
But whether, I mean, two wrongs don't make a right. I absolutely concede that. But at the same time, there is clearly in the American administration a desire not to have this happen scientifically.
Yes, but they must respect the law. And, 22 years ago, the first, what was called at this time, the test tube baby, Louis Brown, was born. And instantly, the U.S. Congress and many countries passed a law against IVF, test tube babies. Then the family went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they won. And the judges of the Supreme Court say it is a freedom of every family to have a child the way they want. And we are in contact with the best legal expert of the best university in America. They all say, if the American government tries to stop you, and you go to the Supreme Court, 100% you will win.
I think there is a difficulty here, and that is, at the moment, I mean, we've heard from the people who created Dolly the sheep. Dolly is arthritic. She seems
I am too.
Okay, but Dolly is a lot younger than you, with all due respect.
I'm not sure of that.
She is. No, Dolly, well, we don't know, but they suggest that her cells are aging at a premature rate.
That's not true.
Well, I can read you something else, which you've probably come across. The South Australian Research and Development Institute, which produced Matilda, Australia's first cloned sheep, they reported recently that 9 of the 10 cloned lambs were inexplicably dying. Okay? To get Dolly, there were 343...
279.
Well, the figure I got today was 340, whatever. But it's a massive number of miscarriages.
Yes.
And it's all very well. If I produce a 3-eyed sheep or a 5-legged donkey, we can dispose of such creatures. But if you produce a child with Because you're talking about people, you're not talking about
it's not
disposable laboratory
There's
animals.
no question of making 279 discarded miscarriages. No, that's no question. The technology is evolving. Very recently, beef, cows have been cloned, and not 279 try, but 30. It's only 10% of what was necessary originally. And the science, this technology is evolving. How? By doing it, by practicing it on animal, yes, but it will be much easier on human beings.
Okay, somebody else wants to talk to me? Yes, chap on the edge there.
Can we just have a quick question to your guest tonight? Similar to David Koresh in Waco, is it not a simple question of, regardless of him talking about freedom, is it not a simple question of this gentleman having more sex with more ladies?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I don't understand the question.
He's saying, is it not all about, I mean, you seem to be surrounded by these beautiful young women.
And young men. You saw the Irish young man.
Okay. I don't know what you're into. You're into ladies rather than men, I presume?
I say we have many members, beautiful and young.
Yeah. But what he's saying is that it's all about access to nubile young women for you. That's what this is all about.
I don't know what is the sexuality of this person. He can tell us what he likes, and if he has many wives, I don't know. He can be Muslim, maybe.
But what's the situation in your organization?
Our organization is speaking about creation of life, scientific creation of life on Earth.
But in terms of the way that people live, I mean, if you're a Mormon, in the old days, you used to have multiple wives if you so wished.
We are against marriage.
You're against marriage?
So we cannot have many wives.
But you can have many sexual encounters with many different people.
As many as you want. Free sex, freedom for everybody.
Okay, I want to go back to the lads then, who joined the Raelians. How is it going, lads? I mean, how much sex are you getting with many different partners?
Oh, well, you can never get enough, Pat.
No, but I mean, have you found people of like mind of your sexual preference to do the business?
Well, here in Ireland, the movement isn't that big. But we have female members, but you know, people in Ireland we find aren't as open-minded as people say in the Far East, Japan and you know, other countries. But it's gradually growing here, so it is the movement.
Yeah. Any of the other lads want to say anything? Yeah?
Yeah. I think the comment the lad said up front there, that's fair enough. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But at the same time, I mean...
If you get that microphone in there, you seem to...
Okay. Well, like Rael said at the start, freedom of choice must be respected. And I mean, people, especially in Ireland, not just in Ireland, in other places of the world, think that you must be, I think the right word is monogamous, or monogamy, where you're with the one person all the time. And people can be with more than one person if they want, if that's their freedom.
Yeah. What attracted you to the Raelian movement?
Well, it wasn't the sex, believe it or not. It was actually because overall I think we have a spirituality and a promotion of science that can help humanity. So I think it's a very good cause.
If you don't believe in God, where's the spirituality come into the thing? I mean, you believe in pure science. As far as I know, that, you know, science and religion are actually mutually exclusive.
Well, this was before, but times are changing, and I think now that man needs spirituality, not deism, not a belief in a God.
Okay. And yes, gentleman over here, to the right as I look at the bleachers, yeah.
Just as the gentleman here says there was a spirituality, the gentleman beside you said there was no spirituality, he was soulless.
No, I never said that.
I'd just like to ask the question, in the case of the cloning, which would have the soul? The original cell or the cloned individual?
Which would have the soul?
There is no soul, no God. And you can have spirituality without God and without soul. You can have spirituality like the Buddhism teach, with just self-development, by just developing your brain, developing your personality and your senses. And that's the philosophy we bring, is a spirituality without God and without soul.
Down in the front, gentleman here, yes. We get a microphone to you now. You can tell us what you want to say. Yes?
My name is Noel Dean, and I was a member of the Unification Church, commonly known as the Moonies. And there's an awful similarity between this man's philosophy and the Moonies. In this sense, that Mr. Moon got messages from spirits. We can't prove or disprove it. This man gets messages from people out of space. We can't prove or disprove it. Mr. Moon, in a sense, wants to clone the world by creating perfect race, by him purifying the people to have perfect children. This man wants to clone people in a similar fashion. He denies God Mr. Moon believes he's God.
Yes, that's a big difference.
This man is no mug. He is no mug, but he's a deceiver. And there's a similarity with a whole lot again in they are all trapped in a spiritual dimension that's driving them to hell.
All right. Well, he doesn't believe in hell, so he's presumably
Well,
not
he
worried
doesn't need to
about that.
believe in it to end up in it.
Yeah.
And that's something also you cannot prove.
Well, that's another thing you can't prove. You know the Barnum and Bailey, the great circus people, the circus of Barnum and Bailey, the three-ring circus. And Barnum it was who coined the phrase, wasn't it, there's one born every minute. And the whole notion that you'll never go broke, I think was the expression used, you'll never go broke underestimating the intelligence of the public.
Yes.
So the suggestion is, basically, you're a con man. Nothing you say can be proven or disproven. If you can get people to join your organization, part with some cash, fund your embassy, fund your activities, well, great, why not? So you're a confidence trickster.
So I don't understand the question.
I'm not sure I understand it myself. But no, what they're saying is that perhaps this is all a cod. This is all a charade. This is something that's
You
not
can
real.
say that about everything, and people were saying the same thing about Jesus when he was there, and every prophet in history. People say, he's an imagination, he's taking your money away. But the fact is that all the prophets in history help humanity to advance toward a more peaceful and more advanced civilization. Now we are entering the time of science and technology, and it's good, and we must not be afraid. That's my mission, to make people not afraid of technology, and to create the first human clone will help to show to the people that, first of all, there is no God, no soul. That's why people against, especially the Catholic Church, against cloning are afraid of the success more than of the failure.
You're saying if you clone, it's a man-made human being,
Yes,
where did the soul come from?
yes, there is no soul.
Anyone want to respond to that? Yes, that gentleman there.
Mr. Rael's whole philosophy seems to be based on science and technology. But that begs the question, where does technology come from? If you
He
look
says extraterrestrials.
No, we forget that aspect for a moment.
Well, he doesn't forget it because that's what, where it all began. Now, where they got their intelligence is another matter entirely.
Yeah, but his whole philosophy is based around science.
Yes.
Now, science deals with absolutes, physical absolutes, correct? Technology today, as we know it, comes from our understanding of the human body. Everything in technology today has mimicked what we have in the human body, whether it be a lung, a heart, pancreas, whatever it may be. We see, for example, today the development of neurological chips based on the neuron concept in the body. Technology comes from medical science, because the more we know about the physical body, we copy it, we mimic it on the technology plane.
All right.
100%.
But this is pure mimicry.
All right, but anyway, we're going to leave this debate here. Rael, I don't know how many more Irish converts you're going to get to your philosophy. I suspect you'll find it difficult to find a territory in which your experiments on human cloning can take place.
I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just trying to find the people who are enough open-minded to agree and join. And these people help a lot of scientists who agree with the last intervention you had. You are partial, I think, because you support people against it, because it's now fashionable. But in a few years, it will look ridiculous, because everybody will say, yes, that was right, that was sure.
So be it. But I would always, in science, want to proceed cautiously.
Yes, but, what
because
interests
the
me...
consequences are so
No, there's no...
horrific
No, absolutely no.
if it goes wrong.
If the scientists are aware and are human beings, they don't want to create monsters. That's why it's taking time. We say 1 year ago it will take 1 year. Now it's maybe 2 more years. But the first baby will be perfect. And the people interested by that can read the book, which contains every argument to prove that science is good, or come tomorrow to the Broswell Hotel, where there is a meeting for people interested.
All right. Rael,
thank you very much
for being such creatures. But if you produce a child with 3 eyes, or with gross deformities, you just simply can't discard such a child on the rubbish heap.
Absolutely not.
And at this stage, the technology, if they were producing baby chimpanzees perfectly every day of the week, I would say perhaps there's a great case for scientifically going one step further. Never mind the ethics.
That's why we are taking time. Absolutely.
But you said you were going to rush ahead and do it.
No.
Keeping ahead of the legal posse that will be out to
no.
deter you.
That was a joke. We are taking time. As long as it needs to have a perfectly healthy baby, because it will be a terrible counter-advertising for our organization. So the baby will be perfectly healthy. But you know, the opponents to human cloning are much more afraid of a perfectly healthy baby than of a monster or handicapped child. Because a perfectly healthy baby will change the public opinion instantly. And the day we will introduce to the public, let's say through Larry King on CNN, that is what is scheduled, a smiling family with a happy child and healthy child, then it will change everything in the world.
Yes, but 20 years on, when you have an arthritic child or a child that has gone prematurely blind,
no, there is no way that will happen.
How do you know?
Because the progress of science make it possible to scrutinize the genetic code of the children at a very early stage and to be sure that they are perfectly healthy. You know, when you talk about monster or handicapped child or the deformity, you had very recently in England Siamese twins. Yeah. They had to separate these children into, to kill one to have the other one survive. If this baby was born through cloning, everybody will got banana and say, look at that, it's terrible. What they do is, no, it was made sexually by a normal couple. And nobody say we must cancel sexuality.
Yes, but there are things which are done inadvertently, which happen by accidents of nature, and there are other things which you set out deliberately to do. And what I'm saying is if it results before a child can be cloned, you have 300 miscarriages, 300 eggs harvested from women which are wasted.
And it's the first try with a lamp. And that's what I explain in my book, Yes to Human Cloning, because everybody is against it, so you have to listen to people who are in favor of it. Why most of the people we hear on TV and radio are against it? Because it's politically correct. Under the pressure of the Catholic Church, it's a kind of fashionable trend to be against genetically modified food, against everything. Like if we must go back to the Middle Age and horses and organic food.
At the end of the day, Rael, it is the ultimate vanity that someone should want to clone something that had a unique personality. And just, I mean, there might be a case for cloning Roy Keane or Niall Quinn, who are great footballers, by the way, just in case you're not totally in tune with that. But even then, that's a joke. I mean, there's no point in having another Roy Keane.
No,
30
but
years
some
on.
people one more time want to have a child, and the only way they have to have a child is through human cloning right now. But this is just the first step. The first step, because we want to go much further. Step 2 will be, soon it's coming. You know, if you spoke before about people laughing. 27 years ago, I was giving speech explaining that cloning is coming. Everybody was laughing. Then Dolly the sheep was created. And then everybody's afraid, and we are laughing.
But we knew that
now,
Dr. Mengele, for example, was supposed to be interested in this
He never cloned
kind of
a human being.
No, but he didn't have the technology at the time, but he was interested in that kind of thing.
No.
And The Boys from Brazil was a movie which preceded your interest in cloning, I suspect. Fergal Bowers of irishhealth.com. Fergal, you've been taking an interest in this particular the Raelians and the website. Well, what is your view? I mean, you're into the science of cloning. You know what it's all about.
Well, there's been no human being cloned as yet in the world. There are huge ethical, legal and social consequences to doing it. I certainly believe we should be celebrating the differences between people rather than wanting to clone people. But if there was to be cloning, you would definitely want it to happen under a regulatory system with doctors and with the authorities involved and independent monitoring. You wouldn't want a cult organization being involved in it, because that is dangerous. You mentioned about the US case, that couple that paid $500,000. What happened there was a very disturbing matter, and the FBI had been following it. What happened was that couple's 10-month-old daughter died, and your group decided that they could regenerate that child by using tissue from that child. When that work began, the FBI moved in and you were moved out. Now, I don't think that's fair to the parents. I think you're preying on people. Whatever about the the amazing imagination that you have. In relation to human cloning, it's too serious a matter to be left in the hands of an organisation. From what we've heard tonight, you're not with it. Rael, you should get real.
It is absolutely untrue. The FBI has no authority and didn't move in. It's the Food and Drug Administration. We claim to have authority and didn't have authority, and we are suing the Food and Drug Administration, and we will win. Because there is no law. That's what I testify in the last spring in front of the US Congress.
Yeah.
They are thinking about making a law, but there is still no law.
But, I mean, you could be charged with being a confidence trickster, for example. They may go the criminal route rather than the food and drugs route and say, look, this guy took $500,000 off this couple with the promise of cloning, when at the very minimum we're talking about it being safely 5 years away.
Wrong again. Because no money. We have a waiting list of 3,000 customers. We don't accept any customer. The first person is an investor. He created the company himself to help us. So the Ryan movement has no money in this project. It's Dr. Boisselier, with the money of the first investor, the father, who was doing it. And I will give you another scoop, if you like. There is another, because this father still wants to clone his child. And he's a very educated, intelligent, not somebody gullible. He's very intelligent. He was a lawyer, and he was also a lawmaker in America. He still wants to clone
Does he not realize that even an identical genetic match will not be the same child?
That's not the problem.
It'll be born from a different womb, with a different environment.
It is freedom. It's a question of freedom. Individual freedom, and that was the Supreme Court decision 22 years ago. Freedom of a family to decide how they want to have a child. That's just a question of freedom.
Okay, are you going to clone yourself?
Not at the step 1. At the step 3, yes. What is the step 3? Soon we will be, it will be possible not to clone a baby, but to clone directly an adult person. That's the next step. People can laugh today. It's coming. We will be able soon to clone through accelerated growth process directly an adult. Not with the surrogate mothers. Last month, scientists are announced they are working on
a fully grown adult cloned
in a few minutes,
who knows as little as a baby does.
In a few minutes, in an artificial womb.
But that fully grown adult will know nothing.
It will know nothing. It will be like a blank tape. And that's where step 3 intervenes. Step 3 is downloading everything which makes you who you are, your personality, your memory, in the clone of yourself. And then you reach eternal life. That's what I explain in my book. Eternal life. That's why we support cloning.
But you see, the clone you make of yourself is going to be the same age as yourself, is going to die on the same day. So it's not eternal life. It just means the two of you die instead of one.
Will die at the age of 90. And you clone somebody at the age of 17. So if we take a cell from your body, we clone yourself when you are 17. And then you have a life until the age of 90. And you can transfer yourself from one body to another body.
We've got some Raelians in the audience. Yes.
Pat, I'm pleased to be here with other members of the Raelian movement here in Ireland. And I, like other people here who I heard giggling and stuff a couple of years ago, probably would have giggled until I was lucky enough to see Rael on the show 4 years ago. I went out and I bought the book and read the things. You know, I had an interest, a personal interest in, human genetics and stuff like that. And things that Rael talked about, human genetics, nanotechnology, and also the human cloning. But these are things Rael spoke about in the 70s. And, these are things as we progressed have become more real. And these things are actually happening. It was only announced last week by 2 scientists in Iceland that the gene for longevity has been discovered. Now, this is, in a matter of years, is going to make people live to an age of over 200.
No, but what the point I made, irrespective of the moral, ethical, legal arguments which Fergal was talking about, there is the whole scientific argument that says until you are routinely cloning our nearest relative genetically, i.e. a large primate, and doing that successfully every day without miscarriage, it would be utterly improper to go ahead and try and clone a human. I think that's just such a given, irrespective of moral or ethical considerations.
No,
just from the pure science of it, because you're talking about people, you're not talking about disposable laboratory